I want to tell you a story about healing, in fact about faith healing, about healing in all its forms. I'm quite an old man now, I'm 77, and I've lived in Spain 35 years. 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And I happened to be in South Africa at the time, and I was treated with radiation and with what is called a TURP operation, where they cut away part of your prostate and they do a biopsy on it to find out what is in it. It's a messy business, it's not a very nice operation, but fortunately within 6 months I was cured. So I was hugely relieved, and so was my new fiancée. Well, about 16 years had gone by, and one fine day in the middle of 2018, I was diagnosed as suspected prostate cancer again, with a suddenly raised PSA. PSA, prostate specific antigen. It's a blood test they do which detects that all is not well in the prostate. Not necessarily prostate cancer, but very probably so. Well, I was recommended to have a drug called Eligar. It's a long story, but it made me very ill. I was unconscious for a couple of hours, taken to hospital and diagnosed with absolutely nothing wrong with me. So I'm terrified of these drugs they use to castrate you. And the purpose of a castration is, of course, to take away the testosterone, which makes you a man after all. It takes away the testosterone on which the cancer feeds. And if they take away the testosterone, clearly the cancer starves, and that's the intention, of course. But as always with all medications, there are side effects. One gets sweat attacks or hot flushes, or as the Americans call them, hot flashes. And they're very unpleasant. They also make you very tired. And it changes your mood as well, and it makes you feel quite low. So as time went on, the following year, about August, I suddenly had massive hemorrhages in the bladder, and I was into urgencias, into the emergency department, no less than 7 times. They did an assortment of tests on it. They did various surgical procedures, including one called embolization, where they close off the arteries to the prostate to reduce the blood flow and therefore reduce the bleeding. Well, after all that, in early January of 2020, this year, I was subjected to chemotherapy, as so many other poor cancer patients are, and the effects are pretty devastating. I lost all my hair. It has grown again, but it doesn't look the same as it did before. I was told by no less than 3 doctors that I had about a year left to live. And so it focused my mind very much on the meaning of life and what comes after it, and what I should be doing with myself, both bodily and spiritually. Well, I got hold of this book. It's called The Miracle of Adas. There we are, The Miracle of Adas. And that literally fell into the hands of my dear wife Hill in a charity shop, and it was still in its cellophane cover. And it is published by the Sikhs in India. And Adas is a process of having absolute faith that if you ask by prayer or by thought or by meditation, that your wish will be granted. And you might think that's rather improbable, but it works. It works. As time went on, the chemo finished, and I met Carmel Sastre, who is a very powerful spiritual healer. And he carried out several sessions and worked on my cancer and on the other miscellaneous symptoms that I had. And not very long after seeing Carmel, I went in to see the oncologist, and she said that the cancer had disappeared completely. Disappeared completely. I, at first, was absolutely dumbfounded because I couldn't believe that it would suddenly disappear. Now, in spiritual things, the strange thing is that it doesn't work scientifically. It requires faith. And only when you have faith that things will happen. They do happen, and they really do happen. Whether it's in a very small way, when Hill, my wife, driving into a crowded area to get a parking spaces, please Chang, oh that's my guardian angel and her guardian angel Chang. Please Chang, get me a spare parking space. And every time it works. So there's got to be something in it. There have been many occasions in my life when I've desperately wanted something. And indeed, way back in 2002, I prayed that I would have a partner who I could love and be loved by. And as I prayed for it, it happened. It happened. Hillary, my wife, came along. And we were married, and we've ever been so happy ever afterwards. But the central point about this is that faith does work, but it doesn't work in conjunction with science. It is beyond science. You see, the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, and I emphasize, passeth all understanding, it is that peace of God that gives us what we wish for. And Carmel has been instrumental in bringing me the healing and giving me the peace and helping me to meditate and to apply the spiritual forces in a way that hitherto in the past I've never been accustomed to do. So I offer this video as a testimonial to Carmel, who's done so much for me. I offer it as a testimonial to the Sikhs who published that wonderful book that I showed you. And I give thanks to the Spirit, to the universe, for everything they've done for me. Thank you very much for listening.